Welcome to Spine Chillers, the podcast where we delve into the darkest corners of horror and mystery. I'm your host, Eden, and today we're diving into a tragic and chilling case that has haunted the town of Maplewood for years. Buckle up and dim the lights, because this story will send shivers down your spine. Our story today is about the unsolved murder of Sarah Miller, a 16-year-old girl whose brutal death turned a peaceful town into a place of fear and suspicion. Sarah Miller was a 16-year-old high school student from Maplewood, a small town situated in the Pacific Northwest. Known for her radiant smile and cheerful disposition, Sarah was deeply embedded in the fabric of her community. She was a well-liked and active member of her high school, participating in various extracurricular activities such as the school's drama club and soccer team. Her friends described her as someone who always found a way to make others laugh and feel included. Sarah's day began like any other, with an early morning jog through the dense woods that bordered Maplewood. This daily routine had become her way of preparing mentally for the day ahead, providing her with a sense of peace and clarity. The forest trails were familiar to her, having been her running path for several months. On the morning of her disappearance, Sarah set out on her usual route, but something was different. The usual sounds of birds chirping and leaves rustling were conspicuously absent, replaced by an eerie silence. When Sarah did not return home by noon, her parents, John and Margaret Miller, grew increasingly concerned. They initially searched the immediate area around their home and then expanded their efforts into the woods, calling out for Sarah as they went. Their calls echoed through the trees, growing more frantic as the hours passed without any sign of their daughter. Realizing the gravity of the situation, they contacted the local authorities. Sheriff Daniel Carter, the head of the Maplewood Sheriff's Department, quickly mobilized a search operation. The community rallied together, forming search parties to comb through the extensive forest. Volunteers equipped with maps, radios, and search dogs scoured every path, stream, and clearing, hoping to find any trace of Sarah. The search was methodical, involving both ground and aerial techniques, but as days turned into nights, no significant leads emerged. Sheriff Carter addressed the assembled volunteers and the media, stating,
"We're leaving no stone unturned in our search for Sarah. We believe she is still out there and that she needs our help."
Despite the extensive efforts, the search yielded no immediate results, and the town's anxiety grew with each passing day. A significant breakthrough occurred when Sarah's lifeless body was discovered deep within the forest. The body was found in a small clearing that was difficult to access, with sunlight barely penetrating through the dense canopy above. The scene was described as a disturbing tableau of violence. Sarah's body was found partially covered by leaves and debris. The area showed clear signs of a violent struggle: broken branches, torn clothing, and disturbed soil. The medical examiner's report provided a detailed account of the injuries. Sarah had numerous wounds, including defensive injuries on her hands and arms, suggesting a fierce struggle for survival. The fatal injuries were severe and indicated a high degree of brutality. The nature of the injuries and the scene suggested that Sarah had been attacked with a weapon, though specifics were not disclosed to the public. In the wake of this discovery, Sheriff Carter made a public statement conveying his deep sorrow and commitment to finding the perpetrator.
"It's a senseless tragedy that has shaken our community. We are determined to bring justice for Sarah and her family."
The investigation into Sarah's murder was extensive and exhaustive. Detectives from the Maplewood Sheriff's Department, assisted by state and federal agencies, worked tirelessly to piece together the events leading up to Sarah's death. They interviewed hundreds of people, including Sarah's friends, classmates, teachers, and local residents. Each interview was aimed at identifying potential suspects or uncovering any unusual behavior that might provide leads. Detective Harper, a key figure in the investigation, canvassed the neighborhood, knocking on doors and speaking with anyone who might have seen or heard something unusual on the morning of Sarah's disappearance. One such interview was with Mrs. Jenkins, an elderly woman who lived near the forest. Jenkins reported,
"No, dear, I keep to myself these days."
Detectives also conducted thorough searches of Sarah's home and personal belongings, looking for any clues that might indicate a motive or a possible suspect. Despite these efforts, no immediate suspects emerged. The investigation expanded beyond Maplewood as detectives distributed flyers with Sarah's photograph and detailed descriptions of the crime to neighboring towns and cities. They reviewed missing persons reports, compared DNA samples, and followed up on every lead, no matter how improbable it seemed. Sheriff Carter, addressing the media, emphasized the ongoing commitment to the case.
We're casting a wide net and utilizing every resource available. We won't stop until we find Sarah's killer.
The investigative team worked long hours, often facing the frustration of dead ends and false leads. The community's watchful eyes and high expectations added to the pressure felt by the detectives. The discovery of Sarah's body had transformed the community of Maplewood. The once tight-knit and trusting town was now fractured by fear and suspicion. Neighbors who once greeted each other warmly now eyed one another warily. The local children who used to play freely in the streets and woods were now kept close to home by their anxious parents. Emily Thompson, reflecting the sentiments of many parents in Maplewood, expressed her concerns in a town meeting organized by the local authorities to address the community's fears. It's heartbreaking.
We used to feel so safe here. Now I can't even let my kids out of my sight. We need to find who did this to Sarah.
The investigation remained relentless. Detectives meticulously reconstructed Sarah's last known movements, hoping to uncover any detail that could provide a breakthrough. They analyzed her phone records, social media interactions, and recent conversations, searching for any hint of a threat or unusual activity. The detectives also worked closely with forensic experts to examine the physical evidence collected from the crime scene. Every piece of evidence, a footprint, a hair, a fiber, was meticulously analyzed in the hope of finding a match. Despite these exhaustive efforts, the case remained unsolved. The killer, whoever they were, had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only a trail of shattered lives and unanswered questions. The unresolved nature of the crime left the community with a lingering sense of unease and a desire for closure. The forest, now synonymous with the tragedy, became a symbol of the ongoing battle between safety and fear. The memory of Sarah Miller persisted as a poignant reminder of the violence that disrupted the peace of Maplewood. The search for justice continued, with law enforcement committed to uncovering the truth and bringing closure to Sarah's family and the community. In the quiet moments of night when the wind rustled through the trees, the memory of Sarah's laughter still seemed to echo through the forest, a haunting reminder of a life taken too soon. The detectives, driven by a deep sense of duty and the relentless pursuit of justice, continued their work, hoping that one day they would find the answers that would bring peace to Maplewood and honor Sarah's memory.